Hi, Lewis. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea.
To this call, and thank you so much for accepting to come here and share your journey as a coach supervisor. I remember us having a conversation about a year ago, not too long ago, with you wanting to take this journey and then deciding, yes, I'm going to enroll, and now you're a qualified supervisor.
Yes.
Will be interesting to hear your journey so far. And so, Lewis, you're joining us from Switzerland, right?
Yes. Yes.
And do you mind giving us a little bit of a background to yourself and what brought you to coaching, and how did you make that decision? I'm going to train as a coach.
So it was about like 14 years ago. I was working as a software engineer and team lead, and I had been done some trainings on therapy, and I was very passionate about therapeutic work, but I didn't know how to integrate those two. So then I heard about coaching. I did a training on coaching, and something clicked within me of this would be a great way of integrating my love for supporting people and my love for working in teams and software engineering. So I had an inner click of I want to become a coach. I had absolutely no clue how to make it. So I started by getting certified with ICF and slowly became a team coach. Then I became an agile coach, leadership coach, and that's how the whole thing unfolded like 12, 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And how did the supervision come into this story?
So the first training that I did, and also in therapy, there's a lot of supervision in therapy. So I had always heard from all the therapists that I trained that it's very important to have a supervisor. So, and also in the training that I did, they always spoke about the importance of having a supervisor to check yourself. So I was always being supervised when I started, and I love the process of being supervised. And in that process, I started also supervising other coaches without any accreditation because they saw that I did a good job, and then they asked me. And then I became more senior. I started training coaches. I started supervising them. Then I became more senior. And so I was training more and more coaches and supervising them, but I had no accreditation for it. So at one point I thought, maybe it's good that I get some proper training on this since I'm doing it already and that I get some accreditation. So that's where the whole thing came. Like I started doing it organically. And then at one point I thought, okay, I need to get accredited for this.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. Thank you for sharing, because we have quite a lot of students who are or coaches who are interested in supervision with a similar background as yours, in the sense that they already do some informal supervision or coach support type of work, and then they decide to train either for the accreditation or a combination of accreditation and to gain, they say, more a more structured approach to supervision and more of a stronger foundation to the work that they do, rather than doing it by intuition or what experience. They want to add that more solidified knowledge to what.
Yeah. So I had a lot of supervision for myself. So I followed that I had been taught. So that's what I followed. And I also wanted okay, am I doing it right? It was not only for the accreditation. It's like, does it make sense what I'm saying and what I'm doing? Because that's what I have learned from therapists. But I want to know what that looks like in coaching supervision.
And this leads me into the, because our training, right, with ICCS, there is an element of mentoring in there and of reflective practice. How did that support this, what you just mentioned about, am I doing this right?
So for me, the training was a blast in the sense that it confirmed and validated everything that I was already doing because I had learned from supervisors. So the training gets a lot of information, and supervision in general in coaching takes a lot from therapeutic supervision. So it validated a lot of what I was already doing. And the whole thing of parallel processes, it's something that for me, was extremely revealing of realizing, okay, that's what I've been experiencing. That's what I support others in disentangling from. And that's what I do on a regular basis with myself. So the whole aspect of parallel processes and psychodynamics was extremely enlightening and fun, actually, to explore and learn about.
Those are two areas that were for me as well new,
Yeah.
and also very impactful, both in my coaching and supervision work. I took a lot in my coaching work from where I learned in supervision. How did your coaching supervision impact your coaching, your approach to coaching, if at all?
No, it did a lot. So because I had a background as a trained therapist, my focus was very much oriented always. I had a preference of going more to the body, of working with the body. And even though I had my own ICF training, still my safe home and safe harbor was the body. By seeing other coaches coach and supervise, so by seeing other coaches supervise, I became familiar with a myriad of different approaches that I could integrate in my coaching. So learning from other coaches that had a lot of experience allowed me to open the variety of tools that I could use that I already had, but I never used. And it made me realize of, if you only work with the body, you're limiting yourself, the number of clients that you can work with. Whereas if you also work with other aspects, there's more people that will feel comfortable working with you. So it opened my palette of things that I could use, and it also allowed me to work with more people, diverse people.
And who are your primary clients for supervision?
So I work as an agile coach in our organization, and there I train and supervise coaches. So it's mainly coaches from this organization that I provide supervision to. We have done an ICF training now, and we will be also providing supervision for those coaches that have just been gone through the training. So it's mainly coaches in that organization. And then I have some clients that I have coached that at one point they have become coaches, and they have told me, hey, I would like that you supervise me, and I would like that I still learn with you. So those two main sources.
And in terms of the types of challenges that they bring to the supervision, can you give us some examples of things that they bring to your session?
So there's very different things. Some are how do they engage? So as coaches, the contracts that they need to do with the organization in order to coach their clients. So how is that structure working? Because they get a demand from the organization, and then they need to coach clients, and there's different demands, and how do they come at peace, and how do they work with those different expectations? So that's a very common topic. Also, how to learn to work with clients without being too impulsive and be more creating a more wide space rather than more a directive space. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Also, so some lead teams and have a difficult time because they lead teams of coaches, and they need to coach those coaches, and how to balance the leadership with the coaching bit. So that's another area that I'm offered. And because it's very much corporate coaching, some coaches also So when you work in a big organization, there's many politics. So when they're working with clients, how to clean the politics and stay clean in the coaching, if that makes sense. So that's also a pretty strong aspect.
Yes, I can imagine there's quite a few ethical boundaries
Exactly.
of topics and challenges that are brought to you, and it can be challenging for you as a supervisor as well.
Yes.
How did your supervision skills equip you for this type of work?
Okay. Before I answer that, there's something that I forgot.
Yeah.
That I'm surprised that I forgot. What also comes a lot is a lot of restoration work also. So coaches that feel overwhelmed with an overload of clients, with the pressure of the organization. So that there's also a lot of how to make restoration and how to keep a balanced well-being. I also have some of that.
Yes, no, that's a great point, and I hear that quite often from coaches who work internal supervisors or coaches struggling with or needing this restorative type of
Exactly.
supervision.
Exactly. So to your question of how did the trainings equip me to do this kind of supervision?
Yes, and now your supervision skills, yes.
Yes. So the aspect of so in my coaching approach, I was very keeping always a very open space and very asking a lot of questions. So I was confronted at the beginning to be more directive at times. So the training really gave me more the permission of sometimes addressing things very directly, and I developed that a lot. Sometimes I'm still struggle with it, but I'm in a much better place than before. Also, I don't know if this is general in all trainings, like with ICCS, but we all address the importance of being bold and direct. So as a coach, you need to find a way of being direct and at the same time respectful. So there's a very fine balance. So when I started as a coach, I was too direct. I had to tone myself down, and now I'm finding my way back of being very direct, but in a playful, caring manner that it doesn't scare my clients away, but they see that I do it from a place of care.
In the
So
supervision work.
yes. So I can be more. I can call things out more clearly as a supervisor, and people take it well. Whereas 7-8 years ago, when I would call somebody out, they would run away from me. So it allowed me to refine my way of addressing things. Let's say it like that.
Yes, it's very common for coaches, especially in the beginning in their supervision, not to want to be directive or to shy away from being directive or of even giving themselves permission to be directive and maybe step into that more of a normative function of supervision.
Exactly. And one more thing that was extremely helpful. So in the training, there were some supervisors that work very much with addressing what they feel. So that there are some supervisors that just mention what is coming up for them. And I'm very empathic and I can feel very much what's happening with the client. So that also gave me the freedom of bringing up that more, both in coaching and supervision. Oh, hey, this is coming up for me. How is it when I bring it? So that was also extremely valuable and helpful.
Yes, and bringing yourself in as a supervisor, whereas as a coach, we're not encouraged to bring ourselves in, but as a supervisor, bringing the self in is part of supervision.
Exactly.
Lovely, Louis. Thank you so much for sharing. This is all so insightful. I'm sure it will support a lot of coaches in their decision making. In terms of of being a coaching supervisor, Louis, what do you enjoy most? What do you love most about it?
Probably seeing how coaches grow and how they develop more skills. That's really beautiful. Also, like, you get to work with systems, and I also love that. So when a client sometimes comes, of course, he brings the whole system of the organization that he's working with, and that perspective of seeing those systems and being able to relate with those systems, that's also something that I love. So seeing coaches grow, helping them restore, and working with systems are things that I love.
Mm. And it fits really well in with the work that you
Yes.
do for the organizations internally, right? And the team coaching and supervision that you're doing. What are some of the most interesting or maybe challenging aspects of the training and this journey to becoming a supervisor that you encountered?
That's a good question. So throughout when we saw parallel processes and psychodynamics, for me it was a revelation of, like, I have studied parallel process, but somehow the documentation, how it's presented, for me it was like, okay, that's my reality. That's what I've been experiencing since I started coaching, and finally somebody puts it on paper, and somebody tells me that I'm not crazy. So everything that I'm experiencing of carrying the energy of somebody taking the energy of somebody projecting something. So for me, it was a bit like I was already doing all that. So for me, it was like awesome. But it was not the same for everyone in the training. So there was a bit of a clash in the training of, is this real? Is this not real? So we had some friction throughout the training with that. And I experienced myself at times being neglected in my experience of reality. That was not from the trainers, of course, but from some participants, and that was a bit of a challenge for me. Like, to experience this friction was a bit of a challenge for me. But the content, I loved it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And how did you overcome this challenge?
With a lot of supervision, coaching, but by checking what was moving in me, by staying true to what I felt and experienced. So can I dwell a little bit deeper on that?
Yes, of course.
So I have a pretty peculiar way, to say it like that, of experiencing the world. So I can feel the emotions of my clients, of the clients of my clients. So everything appears for me in the moment. I've hidden that for many years, because I thought it was weird that I could feel all those things. But for me, it was always natural, but not always. For the last 12, 15 years, these appear very strongly since I started becoming a coach. And it was a struggle that I had since the beginning. I'm learning to just say it openly. Yeah, I can feel other people's emotions. I can even feel their thoughts. I can feel the emotions that they don't experience yet. And it's about becoming grounded, that that's my reality. There's others like me that experience it like that. They're called empaths and high sensitive people. And that's my reality, and that's how I experience it. So coming at terms with it, talking about it, and finding the ground on it, even though if I was afraid, it was an extremely valuable process for me. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, Louis, and it sounds like this course, and it very often does. It impacted not only your coaching and the work that you do and learning supervision skills, but it really impacted you personally as well.
Absolutely.
Made you
Absolutely.
grow as a person.
Yeah. Without this training, I would not be able, I mean, obviously I would not be here having this conversation with you, but but it allowed me to slowly grow in the confidence of saying, this is how I perceive the world. This is who I am.
And own it, almost like
Exactly.
owning.
Exactly. And saying, this is what I am. If you don't believe it, I can relate to that because I was also like you 20 years ago, and still here I am, and I'm not going to hide out from it. So yeah, it was extremely transformative for me.
Oh, Lewis, it's really, really lovely to hear your story and how impactful the training and what you got out of it, right? Because the training is the same for everybody, but everybody is experiencing it differently.
Yes.
And Lewis, you living in Switzerland,
Mhm.
and I don't know exactly what nationality you are, but it doesn't really matter. The question is around, because the ICCS training is an international training. Did any cultural did it have a cultural impact, or did you see cultural differences in not only differences but the impact of culture in the training itself and the variety of cultures in the participation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was amazing because you could see like the Mediterranean one. So there was somebody from Italy and myself. And then you could see the Americans and the guys from the UK and then from South Africa. So you could feel that we all carried our colors in how we interacted with each other. So the Americans being much more outspoken, the Spanish, the Mediterranean ones being more emotional, the UK ones being more precise and refined. So it was very alive somehow.
Do you feel like it contributed to the learning, this diversity?
I do think it enriched enriched the experience to see different styles of coaching and approaches and supervision. I feel it was very enriching, actually.
Mm. And Louis, I'm going to change a little bit the direction towards the future.
Of course.
And what does how do you see yourself working in the future as a supervisor? What does the future hold for you?
So in one of the organizations that I work, as I said before, we are doing this. We have just finished this ICF training. The students are interested in having supervision spaces. So we're going to start introducing supervision as part of their work. So in one of these organizations, I work as a professional competency lead. So I want to introduce supervision as something that coaches can do. So far, like in the agile coaching world, supervision is not so known and used. So I want to introduce it and use it more as part of the tool set that an agile coach can benefit from by having a supervisor, and hopefully also maybe teach some aspects of supervision. So I will be supervising coaches, maybe training a little bit on some aspects that they can use.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully I will also be doing more supervision on my own.
Mm. And Louis, you mentioned about introducing supervision to one of the organizations. What does this mean? Is it a matter of educating people of about what is supervision, or is it coaches being aware of supervision, knowing and wanting it, but is just really creating that space?
So in the corporate world, in some corporate environments, supervision is associated with being fired. You are supervised when you're in the process of getting fired. So the word in some corporate environments has a connotation connected with a different reality.
Potentially negative.
Exactly, it has a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only term that exists. Shall I close the windows a little bit, or is it okay? The light. It's okay. Okay. So when I tried to introduce it a couple of years ago, it was there was a bit of resistance because it had this negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
By doing the training, the ICF training, we spoke about supervision in the training, about the benefits of supervision. We spoke how, as a coach, it's beneficial for you for learning, for ethical matters, or restoration, to have a supervisor with whom you can work. So by going through the training, the coaches were like, wow, it would be really interesting to see what that looks like. So there was a growing interest. So we will provide supervision for coaches, and we will also start educating them of how that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So we will not do a full training on supervision, but rather some basics so that they understand what supervision really entails.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing, because this is always something that it's being discussed, you know, how aware are companies, how aware are coaches about supervision, the understanding the importance, the meaning, what does it actually mean and entail. Great points. And I have one final question. What do you think are some of the key qualities that you believe are essential for good coaching supervision? Effective coaching supervision rather than good.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So the capacity of being assertive in an inclusive manner.
Mm-hmm.
So in the capacity of addressing things in a way that people can hear you. The capacity of being compassionate, of understanding where coaches are struggling. From my perspective, the capacity also of having empathy for coaches so that they can feel safe on bringing those topics, because some coaches sometimes struggle to open up on supervision. So assertiveness, compassion, empathy, and humor, so that we can play playfully and not so harshly. Yeah. And probably there are more, but those are the first ones that come to mind.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Luis, for sharing your story, for sharing your journey. It was very, very insightful. And I'm glad to hear humor in your list. And it's something that's mentioned by other supervisors as well. And it's great to see it bringing this playfulness in the supervision space, which sometimes can be a difficult space, but it's definitely enriching, growing. And humor is a great attribute to have. Luis, thank you so much for being here and being willing to share your story.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for reaching out.